If they could imagine a world or a life where they weren't defined by that fear or by that mechanism of safety, who would you be?
Oh, Dream Think Doers. Oh, I've got something special for you today. Our guest is my new friend, Mae Yoshikawa. She is amazing, and you're going to hear all of it here in just a second. I can tell you that, though, because I got to share the stage, the TEDx stage with Mae a few months ago now, and she blew the audience away. Guys, it is so good. And when it comes out, we will put it in the show notes because you got to see this talk. But she gave the talk from like true heart and wisdom, but then you match that up with her personal story and her powerful strategies. It was just so good. The room was just energized when she was done. And I have a feeling that's going to be exactly what we have today, which is going to be great. Mae is a writer. She's a yogi, a teacher, a mom. She's also the founder of Kizuki Journaling, which is a powerful, heart-centered method that helps people slow down, reflect, and connect with those small but life-shifting aha moments that she calls Kizuki. She's been featured in Vogue Japan, Women's Health, Yoga Journal, and her most recent book is already in its fifth print run. People, she's on fire. But what makes Mae's story so powerful is the way that she's turned deep grief into deep purpose, blending journaling and movement and mindfulness into a practice that's helping people around the world to live with more clarity, peace, and joy. It's going to be so good. So let's get to this. Mae, welcome to Dream Think Do, my friend.
Gosh, thank you so much for having me. What an honor and what an intro. Thank you for
Oh, I'll
that.
tell you what. Yeah, I always say a good intro is my gift to my guest, but you deserve it and you make it easy, except for I could have gone on for about 2 more hours. So I love this. This is so great. And I told you before we hit record that while I was at dress rehearsal, I saw you. You were the first one out. And I'm like, after you got done, everybody was blown away, but I immediately thought, I got to have Mae on Dream Think Do. And one of the things that struck me, you hooked me right from the start. I wrote this down. You said, I think it was your opening line, the greatest poverty of our time is not money, it's the loss of our attention.
Exactly.
I'm like elbowing the person sitting next to me. I didn't even know her, but I'm like, did you get that? That's amazing. Talk to us about that. Like, I know that this is something that you feel really, is wildly important. And I couldn't agree with you more. But why is reclaiming our attention so important?
Yes, because attention is the first function of the mind. And without knowing where we are pointing our attention, we're basically draining the energy of consciousness. And so I am a yogi at heart. I have been trained in South India. I kept a house in South India for some 13 years.
Wow.
And I started with the physical aspect of the practice, but most importantly, it led me to meditation and led me to study my mind and then to transform my mind, which transformed my life and all of the crazy narratives I had going on in my mind that was torturing me. But so the other thing that we all need to know about attention as the primary function of the mind is that there's not really an off switch. So it doesn't work negatively. So if you go, I hate that guy, you're talking negatively, but you're still pointing attention at the guy. In other words, you're still draining your attention towards that exact thing that you say you don't want to focus on.
Right. Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't get that paradox. So they're consistently draining energy day after day after day. So I think that one of the best and most important ways that we reclaim our lives is by reclaiming where are we pointing our attention in this moment. And that takes training.
That takes so much training. And I would say, obviously we haven't lived 200 years ago, 400 years ago, whatever. But it's that thing of like, I would think that our generation's battle for attention has got to be greater than possibly any generation. There are more things vying for our attention than ever. So this is timeless truth, but I would think even more important for right now, right? So where do you start? You teach Kizuki journaling, but like where do you start with somebody that's wanting to reclaim their attention? What are some of the early steps that you suggest?
I would say meditation,
Yeah,
because meditation makes you aware of your thoughts or the direction that your mind is pointed towards.
yeah,
But the reason why I developed this journaling method and use journaling as a tool is because I had so many students come up to me and say, May, I really want to meditate, but it's just too hard. I can't sit still for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. And then they would give up. Or I
yeah,
also have taught yoga for many years. But people come up to me and say, well, May, I'm just not bendy. This is too hard for me. And I'm like, well, heck, you can pick up a pen. But this is a method
right.
that I developed under the height of the pandemic. So people were in extreme
Yeah,
anxiety, insecurity, a lot of loss, a lot of sickness. And so our minds globally were hugely scattered. We were
yeah,
scared. We were so fearful. We didn't know about the future and we didn't know where or how to start to take hold of that.
yeah.
On any day of the week, you start by putting your attention on your breath to check in to see how you're
Mm,
breathing. Because if you can do that, then you can physiologically begin to regulate your
yeah,
nervous system and
yeah,
regulate the scared thoughts in your mind. So these were the tools, just meditation, like breathing, yoga, and
yeah.
journaling. But with journaling, what that gave me was an in to all the
Ah,
people who said, I don't want to exercise or I don't
right.
want to meditate. And I can still
Yeah.
have an in with them.
You still can have a conversation, absolutely, and you've
Yeah,
got a toolbox, right? And I do think,
right.
it's interesting because I love meditation. I'm big on prayer, and it's interesting. I talk with a lot of people about their experiences and journey with both, and it is interesting, especially to bring up the pandemic and all of that. I think people were afraid. It was one of those unique times where collectively people were afraid of the same things, and it was something we really never experienced. So it was a very unique, extreme experience where a lot of people were going through it together. So it's so like all of this is wildly important, but again, for such a time as this, right? Like you're really getting to these points, and Kizuki journaling specifically, it really is a toolbox for somebody that either says, I can't meditate because I can never clear my mind, or I don't journal because I don't do the my dear diary, oh, my day was this, all that kind of stuff. So walk us through that toolbox a little bit. Like, let's talk about
Sure.
for a second, what is Kizuki?
Kizuki is the Japanese word for an aha moment of insight or realization. It's
Mm,
universal. Everyone's had it
yeah,
repeatedly in their lives,
right,
but perhaps you haven't had language for it.
right.
So, literally, the Japanese word kizuki means to place your ki, your
Uh,
attention or
yeah,
energy on something. So it could be as small as a freckle you didn't notice before. And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Or
right.
it can be a downright life changing epiphany like,
Yeah,
oh, oh my gosh, my friend was this kind of a person. And I didn't know that before. And now that I've seen it, I
yeah,
can't unsee it. So it's
yeah.
kind of like layers of truth. And once you
Hmm.
access that deeper layer, you can't unrealize it.
Yeah.
And my journaling method is one theme at a time with 3 prompts. And it's
Okay.
interwoven with a guided meditation. And what it does is that it's designed to instigate the aha moment. So each theme uh, takes an approach at a limiting belief that's
Mm,
perpetuating or
yeah,
something that people commonly don't question. And I kind of knock the door and say, what do you think about this? What if you looked
yeah,
at it that way? And
yeah.
so it's designed to invite this, oh, I hadn't looked at it that way before kind of a moment.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
we're big fans of good questions here. So I love diving into it. It's interesting. I just interviewed somebody who was a graduate of the Stanford School of Design. And, he talked about that one of the things they always asked was, are you asking the right question? Right? Are
I
you
love
actually
that.
going after the right problem? Right. And so I love like where you're helping people reframe some of the things that they're looking at. And I do want to take a step to the side here because I think sometimes it's easy to hear an amazing bio like yours. And it might be easy for somebody to assume you've never had challenges, you've never had loss. But I even mentioned it, like you can't help but speak to, you've had some significant grief. You've had some significant challenges in your life.
Right.
Walk us through how this has helped you navigate some of that.
Right. Uh, so I would say the first very challenging experience in my life was when I was a teenager, 14 going on 15. I'm the youngest of four siblings, and my mother was half American and half Japanese, and my father is Japanese. And they, after some 26 years of a happy marriage, was getting a divorce. And
Wow.
I took a hit. I took a huge hit in the home because both my sisters and my brother had already left the house to go to
Oh, wow.
university. And so I was the only one who was home. And it really rocked the foundation of trust for me
Yeah.
because this was love and family as I had known it.
This was your
And
world.
then it was no longer. And as I needed to navigate through that in my teenage years, within a couple of years, my mother developed a rare neurological disease. It took 2 years to get a diagnosis, but when we finally got one, the doctors said atypical, young onset, because she was only 47 when it
Right.
started, young onset, atypical Alzheimer type dementia, meaning short term memory loss, long term memory loss, spatial misrecognition. So she would reach for a cup of water and completely miss the cup. I didn't know how much longer I had that she would recognize me or be able to look me in the eyes or call my name. And I was going through that between the age of, well, 17 is when her symptoms first started. And then at 19, when I was 19, she was 49, she was diagnosed. But by age 20, I was a depressed insomniac because
Yeah.
how does consciousness work? And who is my mother if she can't look at me and call my name? Or,
Yeah.
if she doesn't recognize me. So I went through this dark, dark period where I didn't know what or who to trust, and I hated life. I
Hmm.
hated God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, because how could you do this to me? How could you do this to my mom and to my family? But talk about a misaimed question,
Yeah.
because a question like that got me nowhere. It got me depressed and it got me sleepless.
Mm.
And I soon realized that if I didn't begin to change that, I would also be sick. And my mother's disease would not only take her down, it would also take me down. So, in that deep, dark place, I discovered yoga. And through yoga meditation, it took me years, but meditation gave me a way to observe the content of my mind. So one day, I realized I had the Kizuki moment
Mm.
that my question, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my mom? Was completely misaimed.
Mm.
Because even if I had those answers, it wouldn't serve me. And it was so against the grain of everything I had built my life upon until that point. But because I was in so much suffering, I chose to let that question go,
Mm.
even without an answer,
Yeah.
because I saw that the question wasn't serving me. And eventually I got really good at yoga, and I I was traveling a lot to India to further my studies. I became the first Japanese woman to be authorized by the founding school of Ashtanga Yoga in South India. And it made me healthy. It changed my life. I built a career out of teaching yoga and sharing yoga, and then later building my studio. And um, fast forward a little bit, in I was married once in my 20s, which ended in divorce. And in my 30s, I remarried and had my second child. And so my husband, the love of my life, he was killed in a traffic accident. And he was 37 at the time. I was also 37. And I mentioned that alongside my mom because what happened was, after having gone through that experience of slow grief with my mom, years later, when my husband suddenly passed, this vibrant young athlete, it was just so out of the blue that we were all in acute grief and shock. So many people in my family and his family around us, they were in so much agony because everyone was asking why.
Yeah.
Why did this happen to him, to his beautiful young family with a small baby, to his wife, his kids? And what saved me, Mitch, was that I never asked why.
Mm.
I never asked why God, why him, why now, why this? Because I had already learned through my experience with my mom that that was a misnamed question. And the absolute truth, not just for me, but for all of us, is that as long as we're alive, we'll all die.
Mm.
And nobody knows when.
Mm.
And to pretend to know when, and to pretend to think you know best about what's too early, what's too young, what's too late, what's too slow, is arrogant on the part of us human beings. And so it crushed me, but it also humbled me to live in line with life and what life gives you. So to this day, I keep having to remind myself that humility to just move and flow with life. Because as humans, we all think we know better, or we want more, or we think we want this by when. And then the mind goes, is a kind of go-getter that way. We want the next thing, the next thing. But I try to remind myself that I'll do my best, and we also don't know. And so it's this paradox of living with the knowing and the unknowingness.
Oh, Mae, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for being so real and sharing both of those stories, because it is amazing how both of those stories have shaped who you are, right? And to let go of that why question is so powerful, but it's so human, right? It's just
Yes.
understandable. My wife, I think is a cancer survivor, and when she was diagnosed, those were exactly the questions I was asking. Why her? Why us? Why now? All of those things, right? But that question didn't serve. That's exactly right. But to then be able to lean into some of these better questions and this awareness, I think it is humbling, but it is so powerful, and there's so much more peace and joy in it as well. So let's dive deeper into that, because I know you are now teaching people around the world the Kizuki method of journaling. And I think I love a good toolbox, Mae. I love a good toolbox. And I know there's a lot of tools in this box, whether it's somebody they're already completely on board with journaling, or they're the person who says, I've never journaled, I'm not going to journal, I'm not doing it. Where do you recommend somebody goes, whether they've been doing it for a while, or they've been journaling or trying journaling for a while, or they've never done it? What's that first step or that next step to start them on this process?
In terms of journaling, I mean, there's many different methods and different ways that you can approach it. For a beginner, I like to ask them to start by writing down, what are you feeling now?
Mm.
And sometimes that people have clear words around it. I feel angry, I feel sad, or whatever. Sometimes it's murky.
Mm-hmm.
It's gray. You don't really have definitive words around it, but you can take a stab at it and just let it rip, though. Like, don't hold back.
Right.
Let the page be your confessional. It can
Yeah.
you can be, but the whole point is to be honest. It's interesting because in Japanese, we call the journaling method kaku meso, which translates as writing meditation.
Mm.
So I tell my students, if you can't be honest on the page, there's no meditative effect there, because the entire point of meditation is to see it as it is. So if you're going to, pretend a little pretty things out and little glitter over things, it's just, you can call it journaling, but it's not going to have a meditative effect. So be super, super honest about everything that goes on the page. Meaning, if you have this kind of narrative talk going on in your head, write it out word for word. So mine often sounds like, dot, dot, dot. I don't really know, but dot, dot, dot. Like, it's stream of consciousness directly on paper is the most revealing thing, because otherwise the content of your mind is not visible. We act from it, we think from it, we feel from it, but it's not visible.
Mm.
But when you put it out on paper, I have so many question marks. I have so many exclamation points. This word I've used repeatedly. Here's where there's space. Here's where I'm repeating the same thoughts. So a lot of times, sometimes when people journal like on the computer or on their iPhones, um, it's easier to censor or to summarize. But I usually encourage people to just pick up a pen and do it on paper. Then it can be really messy. It just gets this raw aspect of your
Yeah.
brain all fired up.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love
So
that.
begin with, how do you feel? Like, what are you feeling? And after you've unloaded on that, then B, I would suggest to ask yourself, why do I feel those feelings?
Mm.
And that's usually revealing of the thoughts and beliefs that you harbor that result in those feelings,
Mm.
that a lot of people spend a lifetime never questioning.
I love that. And I think what I love, there's so many aspects of what you just said. I love the aspect of just writing, not filtering, not
Yeah.
writing for performance. You're not handing this in for a grade for a high school English class. You're not handing this in as a memo that's going to go out to your whole organization. This is just for you, your mind. If it's meditation, it's prayer. But getting it down on paper, there's so many healthy aspects of that. I love just the idea of just don't filter, just write word for word. I don't know what I'm feeling, the dot, dot, dots, all of those things. I think that is so powerful. But then to not question it, not judge yourself, just look at it as if you're looking at the indicator lights on the dash going, oh, I'm feeling anger. And then to lean in, why might I be feeling that? Like, the why might is a great set of questions to go, all right, you may not know, but why maybe do you feel this way? It's just, again, to explore it without judging is such a powerful thing. Where do you go next?
Well, just to kind of hone in on those two steps for
Yeah.
a second, because imagine I developed this method here in Tokyo and I started with the Japanese audience. So there are hugely cultural aspects to expression.
Mm.
Now, some of it might be like, Japanese or Asian versus Western. Some of the dynamics might be like male, female, introvert, extrovert, like, But here are some of the first questions that beginning journalers commonly ask me. They say, May, can I write this? Am I allowed to write this? If they have an extremely negative thought, and it's usually something like, I want to die, or I want to kill, or I want to be killed, or something very violent like that. And they ask me, is it okay to write that down? They're scared to write it down because there's already a pre-existing judgment about that thought.
Yeah.
And I ask them, well, if you don't write the thought, are you still thinking it? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, please, then by all means, write it out, because at least that way you've caught it on paper in awareness. And let the piece of paper, let your notebook be a sanctuary. Let it be your safe space to see it for what it is, because a thought does not equal the action. If I believed my thought every time I wanted to kill myself, I wouldn't be here. And that's why I think it's so important to distinguish between a thought and a thought you believe to be true. And putting it out on paper will allow you to dissect that. It's very, very elusive to do without putting it on paper, keeping it in your mind to distinguish between, which thoughts are true for me and which do I believe, which do I believe automatically. It's almost impossible to do that in your head. But once you put it out on paper, you begin to realize which are the thoughts that have power over me because I placed power upon them, because I believe them, right? So you say so easily and so naturally, put it on paper, don't censor it because let's not judge it. But for a lot of people, they're already judging it before even writing it down.
So true. And I think
Yeah.
what I love about that too, that awareness as a coach, I've been coaching people for about 20 years, and it's so interesting. You're so right that so often we're having these thoughts at a subconscious level. We're making decisions on beliefs that if we actually had to verbalize them or write them down, we would say, oh my gosh, I don't believe that.
Exactly.
But at a subconscious level, it's happening. So to write them down without filtering and go, oh my gosh, yeah, that is maybe not at my best moments, but in my worst moments, I'm tempted to believe that, or I'm tempted to think that, or I'm tempted to operate based on that set of, kind of beliefs. So I think this is such an important thing. And again, to remember, and I love what you talk about, this can be messy. It doesn't have to be pretty. It certainly doesn't have to be perfect, whatever that would even mean in this case, but you're just getting it out there.
It's so good. And what you said was so important, because then once you have it out on paper, then you begin to see, what makes me prone to believing those thoughts? And on which days and in what cases am I okay? Then I'll get people to write that out on paper. And then oftentimes the third step, and it depends on each theme and each session, but the third step, I try to make it actionable. So I'll ask something like, now that you've seen that you're more prone to believing in these negative thoughts in these situations as opposed to those situations, what can you do today where you can cultivate an environment for yourself that helps you to harbor these nicer thoughts as opposed to, being prone to believing in the negative thoughts. So I try to make the third prompt actionable and practical in daily life.
Oh, so good. I love this. This is so good. I will say I've been a journaler for a long time. Not perfect at it, messy, inconsistent at times, all of that. But we're in the process of cleaning out a storage unit that we have, and I found some totes that are full of journals, which then led me to look back through thoughts that I had 30 years ago. Right. And what's interesting is some of those thoughts, you're like, those are laughable. Like, I remember that season where I believed that. And then some of the thoughts were, oh, I had that thought yesterday. Right. Like, so I love journaling from the standpoint too, of being able to look back and track your thoughts. And like you're saying, as you inventory them, as you work on replacing those or improving those thoughts, to then be able to go, okay, how am I doing? I have a favorite journal right now. It's Electrum 1917 journal. I'll put a link in the show notes. I'll send you a link. But what's great about it is it's a lined journal, but there's an index on the front, and each of the pages are numbered. So as I have thoughts, I go back and then index big thoughts that I have, or big wins, or hard days. And then I can go back to the index and go, I remember, that thought or that day or those types of things. And it's great because I've got a whole shelf of them now where I can go back and you can inventory it, just find those thoughts, find those epiphanies, find those ahas a little bit more interestingly, or a little bit more easily. And it's been a great thing to add a little bit of system, because I'm a little bit of a systems nerd, to that kind of keeping it messy, keeping it loose, but also being able to then go back and pinpoint specific times or specific thoughts. So I love that. One question that I have for you, because you've ushered so many people into doing this and doing it consistently, making it a lifestyle. But I think when I talk with people about journaling, one of the things that I hear often is, I did that for a while, or I did that a long time ago, or you just get this sense of shame, like that they walked away from it, they stopped doing it. So almost there's a wall saying, I can't go back to that. What do you say to that person that's maybe tried journaling, maybe loved it at some point, but they walked away or they haven't done it for a while? What do you say to that person to help them begin again?
I actually don't teach my journaling method on a regular daily or weekly basis. I
Oh,
lead
interesting.
my journaling sessions only once a month.
Ah.
So it was interesting to see the numbers in light of that, because within the first 3 years, 14,000 people had taken the program, and I had only been leading the program once a month.
Wow.
That goes to show for the number of people who told their friends about it, but also some of the same people would keep coming back to the method because they'll do it 1 month, and then they'll, several months will go by and they want to revisit that same session again, because then they get this visceral sense of how much I've changed. So I am not super like I'm not a huge person
Like
who
daily?
encourages daily
Yeah.
practice. I know that I at one point tried gratitude journaling daily. I didn't last. So and that's not to say that the method is great. The method is great. It's just that when it starts to feel forced, I 10 out of 10 times, I would rather you stay with the reality of the fact that you don't feel like doing it than trying to fake affirm, I'm so grateful. So I would stay with the feeling, the true feeling, whether it's positive, negative, murky, or in between. Stay with the realness of that moment, as opposed to, I should do this. Even if the should looks pretty and looks good, I just am now, through all my life experiences, can wholly vouch for stay real. It's better than the pretty.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think that what's beautiful about that too is, that allows you to find what works for you with
Yeah.
this, because it's that thing of a daily practice for some people. I know I do that just because I'm also a recovering worrier. And it's one of those, I use that as a method daily to get my brain going in the right direction in the mornings. But it is that one thing of being able to go, when I get up in the morning and it's like, oh, I should do this. Those sessions are completely different than the days that I'm hungry to do it. Right. So
Right.
it is a combination, but I really like the idea of this approach being something that you recommend doing it monthly, or it's how you facilitate it. Cause I think that also allows people less pressure to, that sounds sustainable for
Right.
a lot of people.
Right. And also, I am a big believer in coming back, like having a center or a practice to come back to. So
Yeah.
once you have the tool, whether it's your breathing exercises or your meditation practice or your journaling in your toolkit, and you know that it works for you, you know how it works, you know that it's good for you, then sure, every now and again you might veer away for a while, but you
Right.
know that when you need it, you can come back. So I do wholly believe in having the tools in place and having had some loose format of continuing it so that when you do veer away, then you know how to come back.
I love it. You mentioned your course, and I know I mentioned that your book is in its fifth printing. I want to get to this. We'll put it in the show notes too, but where's the best place for people to start as far as finding you and, starting to pursue some of the things that you're doing? Where's the best place for them to begin that journey with you?
For Kizuki Journaling, I have a website. It's kizukijournaling.com. And my personal website is maey.live. So the book is still in Japan in Japanese, and the
Yeah.
regular classes up until now have also been in Japanese. But just last month, I started offering them in English as well. So you can look out for those classes on kizukijournaling.com and maey.live. We also have a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for news.
I love that. I love that. We'll put all that in the show notes too. So that's great because it's something that my assistant actually participated in your live round the first time in
Oh,
English.
thank
And she
you.
loved it, loved it, loved it,
Yes.
loved it. So good, so powerful. She's like, "Oh, I love May." I'm like, it's true.
Oh, thank you
You're
so
very lovable.
much.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So with Dream Think Do, we always talk about, it is important to dream bigger, to think better, and to do more of what you're put on the planet to do. When you think about, and I know the doing part of it is really important for you as well. So when you think about Kizuki and this importance of noticing those aha moments, of writing them down, acknowledging them, what do you think as we're wrapping up? I don't want to wrap up our conversation, but I'm going to wrap it up. Um, when you think about sending people out to take action, to do the thing, what would be that next thing that you would suggest for people to do?
I think the most important thing is to become aware of the armors and the ways that you've protected yourself. Well,
Mm.
in the name of protection, you've kept yourself small so that you don't go for the big dreams. And it's so real. Everyone has um, this dual force inside where you have the full capability to dream big. And within that same person, in that same psyche, there's that other voice that says, hey, are you sure? Don't you want to stay small so that you don't rock your boat or rock people's boats or rock the culture's boats? Or, there's this going on. I have yet to meet a person who doesn't have that duality going on. This is like humanity. Okay. Now that we've clarified that we have that duality going on, we need to become aware of what it is that happens between the two. Where for some people, we make that breakthrough, we make that reach, we take that action. And for others of us, we stay small for an entire lifetime. And as far as I have observed and have known it within myself, what happens in between the stay small, May, you better stay safe here, versus dream as big as you can, May, is fear, first of all, right? We're so afraid. But the other layer to that is that because we're so afraid, we want to protect ourselves. And that's why this downward pull to staying small feels not only strong, but it sounds reasonable and legitimate because it's true, isn't it?
Logical. Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Right.
logical.
It's
Yes.
logical. That just makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Whereas the other, like dreaming big and going for it, is full of the unknown. So there's this push-pull going on, and the anatomy of the mechanism of protection is unique to each individual. Now, I can give you a piece of my story just as an example. And I know that some people will relate, and then for other people, it will be an entirely different mechanism. But for me, I am a mixed breed, having grown up in one of the most homogenous cultures of our time. And I have been different and an outcast in a culture that likes to hammer down the nail that's sticking out, right? So it was safety. It meant safety for me to stay not too noticeable, like maybe not too loud. And I wanted success, so I would go for success, but maybe not too big, maybe not too bright. And I did that for years, maybe even decades. And for me, this sudden passing of my husband in my mid-30s, the loss, that the gravity of that loss was just so great that I felt like I died with him. And in fact, that was true. The identity of Mae, that was his wife, that thought and believed that we would grow old together, that Mae had to die in order for another Mae, the other Mae, to survive, because that Mae couldn't live without him. And through this experience of grief, I felt like I had lost so much that I didn't have anything else to lose. And somehow that gave me the fearlessness to, well, one of my friends said to me, because I was working on a creative project at the time. Actually, it was this Kizuki, the idea. I had conceived the idea of Kizuki in the wake of my husband's passing, and I wanted to write a book about it. And my friend introduced me to this developmental book editor who reviewed my ideas and who heard me out. And she said, Mae, why don't you just dream as big as you can? And something about that just sent shivers down my spine, like full body resonance. Because in my culture, the way I grew up, no one told me to dream. No one told me to dream big. Dream, that's what you do at night when you're sleeping, not when you're waking, right? And so I had to come face to face with all of the ways that I had protected myself to stay small, and that had worked for me up until now. So I didn't want to deny the ways that it had worked for me. I needed to accept, appreciate, and thank all of the ways that it worked for me. And still I have somewhere else to go, so that I wouldn't deny my past to fly to my future. I would include my past and let it become the foundation and engine from which I will launch to my future. I'm still working on that one though, Mitch.
Well, isn't that we're a work in progress, right? But what I love is that you're working on all of that, right? What I love is you're teaching from the journey, not the destination, right? You're not saying, I have arrived, I have this figured out. You're saying, this is what I know today. This is the experience that I've had. This is what I know today. And this is what I'm going to teach. This is what I'm going to offer, because it's what I know today. And there is so much freedom in that, and you giving yourself that permission to step into that new. What I love about that is I can see it, I can feel it as you say it, but as you share that story, that also gives others permission to do the same. And that's why I so appreciate you just being with us, sharing your story, sharing the experiences that you're having, your wisdom, and just what you bring to the world, Mae. I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation. We're going to have another one as you continue to walk this out. I'm so excited for you. What would be that last piece? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just said it would be my joy to be back on your show again.
I love it. I love it. What's that last nugget that you would want to offer somebody? Maybe they're saying, okay, you know what? I'm feeling that tension, or I felt that tension between knowing there's a dream out there I'm supposed to pursue, but also either having been told to be small, stay safe, all of those things. What's that last piece of advice that you'd give that person that's saying, all right, I think I can do it, Mae. What do you say?
I want to gently ask them just if they could imagine a world or a life where they weren't defined by that fear or by that mechanism of safety, who would you be?
Mm. We're just going to let that sit. I love that. I love that. Mae,
Yeah.
you are amazing. And that is just that if, like, who would you be? And why not
Right.
step into that today, right?
Yeah. And what I like to do with a question like that, I should add this because it's so easy to want to approach it in a mental way where you want to think about it and
Mm.
answer it. But just like you did, Mitch, I do recommend just steeping in it because the question acts like an arrow. It points you towards a direction that in your safety mechanism you hadn't allowed yourself to imagine before. But because it's beyond your conceptual idea of who you are and who you've been thus far, the best thing you could do is just to sit and steep in the unknowingness of it, following the question and not let yourself think it out.
Yeah.
And then that's where the new ideas, that's where the new path is shown to you, but
Yeah.
only one next step at a time. It's
Exactly
never like,
right.
that's the tricky part, right? It's never like, oh, Mae, in 5 years, you'll be there, so you do this.
Yeah.
No, it's like, okay, Mae, just go see this person today. You know,
Yep.
it's like the
This is the
next thing.
next step, right? It's that next best decision. Let's just do that and see where that takes you. You don't get the whole plan. But I love that. And I love it is also embracing the tension of it to go, okay, I think at least as Americans, we have kind of basically been, told that to avoid tension, right? Fix the tension, avoid tension, get out of tension. But to go, you know what? There is tension between wanting to stay safe, or at least the part of our brain that is specifically designed to keep us safe, the amygdala,
Yes.
right? And that also that pull, that draw to that bigger dream, that thing that we may in fact have been put here to do. And to go, yeah, there's going to be tension there, but to stay in that for a minute and say, what's my next step? I don't have
I
to have it
love
all
that.
figured out. I don't
Yeah.
know all the steps. I'm going to be okay with, you know what? There's a little bit of tension, but I'm not broken. That's not wrong. That's just a part of stepping out. And I love that. And I love the fact that you are walking this out. I mean, we are having this conversation. You are in Tokyo. I'm in Iowa. And I mean, I think I want to celebrate the fact that you flew to the TEDx event. It was actually held here in Iowa, right? And it was, as you said, your first presentation like that in English. You are
Right.
incredible. You are an amazing communicator. But what a risk. I mean, you flew thousands of miles to do something you'd never done before. And I can tell you it changed the room. I think it's going to change the world when that video gets out. So I'm so excited. I'm so glad our paths have crossed, and I'm looking forward to that continuing to play out. But you're amazing, Mae. We so appreciate you, and we'll look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much, Mitch. This has been awesome, and I'm so happy to connect with you and your audience as well.
I love it. All right. Thanks so much.